This is CBN Newswatch.
Thanks for joining us for CBN Newswatch. I'm Mark Martin. It's unprecedented. A whistleblower, his identity unknown, his testimony based on hearsay, instigates an impeachment inquiry. Did the intelligence community change the rules? Amber Strong has more.
The whistleblower at the center of a complaint that helped launch an impeachment inquiry into President Trump is expected to testify privately before Congress if lawmakers can ensure that his identity is safe. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says the decision to launch an impeachment inquiry was based on several factors.
It's not just what happens in the call, it's part of the sequencing of events as well. You withdraw a couple $100 million worth of assistance to a country and then a couple of days later say, by the way, can you help me with my campaign, in other words?
It's all hearsay. You can't get a parking ticket conviction based on hearsay.
Trump attorney Jay Sekulow claims the whistleblower rules recently changed.
The form that so-called whistleblowers fill out used to say this: in order to find an urgent concern credible, the Inspector General must be in possession of reliable, first-hand information. That was on the form, literally, until apparently very recently.
The complaint says Mr. Trump pressured Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky to investigate political rival Joe Biden and his son Hunter's dealings in Ukraine. The president's defenders call the whistleblower biased.
The Inspector General says there's an indicia of arguable political bias. That is Washington speak for this guy didn't like the president.
That same Inspector General, however, called the complaint credible. President Trump's former security advisor saying he's troubled by the call.
It is a bad day and a bad week for this president and for this country if he is asking for political dirt on an opponent.
Democratic members of the House have launched a slew of subpoenas against the State Department and Secretary of State Mike Pompeo.
I have to imagine they're going to fight us tooth and nail. And yet, even as they do, the more that they fight to try to prevent and obstruct the lawful functions of Congress, the more they're going to make a case for impeachment on obstruction of justice.
Meanwhile, the Biden campaign sent a letter to major news networks calling on them to stop having Trump lawyer Rudy Giuliani on their shows, claiming he's spreading debunked conspiracy theories. Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi has a message of her own for the White House.
Speak the truth and let us work together to have this be a unifying experience, not a dividing one for our country.
But recent polling suggests the country is divided. While there's increasing support for impeachment, it mostly falls along party lines. Amber Strong, CBN News in Washington.
Evangelical pastor Robert Jeffress told Fox News that impeachment will divide America with lasting consequences.
If the Democrats are successful in removing the president from office, I'm afraid it will cause a civil war-like fracture in this nation from which this country will never heal.
The president later tweeted that remark and added Jeffress's comments that evangelicals are more angry over this issue than any other he's seen. The pastor also called on evangelicals to take action by calling their representatives. A New York Times report has uncovered the staggering growth of child abuse images that predators are sharing online. Last year, tech companies reported a record 45 million online photos of child abuse. A decade ago, the number was less than 1 million. The report explains that smartphones, social media, and cloud storage have encouraged predators to multiply the images. It also reports the abusers are posting more extreme forms of abuse on younger children, even including babies. Joining us now with more is Internet safety advocate Donna Rice Hughes, the president of Enough is Enough. Donna, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
What is your response to this report? I mean, Donna, how have we gotten to this point where there are millions of these horrific images?
Well, that's a loaded question. I can say that there are a number of reasons. Law enforcement in particular. These issues, child sex abuse images, have been around a long time before the internet, but the internet actually served as the digital new distribution vehicle for this type of content to begin spreading. And we called attention to this back in 1994 and 95. And there have been many zero tolerance policies against child pornography that we've been involved in issuing across the board since that time. But by and large, this is a law enforcement issue and also a technology issue. So I think it's key here that we need to be putting more money into this problem, because what child pornography is the actual recording or video recording or photograph of a child being sexually abused. Now, children as young as toddlers and infants, we started to see a trend in this back in 2007, 2008. So none of this is new. What is new is that this report shows that because law enforcement has not been in front of this with new technologies, with more law enforcement, with more resources, and dealing with this at the front end, and then also technology companies, I mean, they're doing a little bit, but they can all do a lot more. We need to be treating this issue as seriously as we treat other issues, like, for instance, in the faith-based community, the life issue, because this is about children who are now out of the womb, and their lives have got to be protected. Their innocence has got to be protected, and we need to do a whole lot more.
And Donna, the New York Times report reveals that predators are using encrypted technologies and the dark web to share these pornographic images, and that law enforcement is besieged with more cases than they can handle. Now, Facebook says it will encrypt Messenger, which was apparently used last year to share millions of the abusive images. How can society as a whole begin to fight the epidemic?
Well, first of all, you can report it. If you hear of any of this or you see anything, report it to law enforcement, report it to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Sign up at our website at enough.org. We actually issued the Children's Internet Safety Presidential Pledge, and Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton both got behind it. So now is the first time ever we have a sitting president who has made a public commitment to protect the children, the innocence of children in the digital world. And that includes aggressive enforcement of these child pornography laws. And yes, law enforcement is overwhelmed. That's why there needs to be new money, new appropriations, so that we can get enough prosecutors to go after this. And then technology, they just need to be much more proactive. They're doing a lot, but they need to do more.
All right, Donna Rice Hughes of Enough is Enough. Thank you so much, Donna, for your time and insights and how you tirelessly wage war against this. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
As China gears up for a celebration of 70 years of communist rule, Hong Kong protesters are determined to mar the celebration. More violent clashes ensued over the weekend, and today secondary students boycotted classes in an act of defiance against Beijing's control. Lucille Toulousan brings us the latest from Hong Kong.
It was a very violent weekend of pro-democracy protests in Hong Kong. The peaceful commemoration of the umbrella movement 5 years ago ended in chaos. Protesters threw bricks and petrol bombs at the government headquarters, while police dispersed them with water cannons and tear gas. Protesters even set fire to a metro station entrance. The show of rage and anger is their attempt to overshadow the grand celebration of China's 70th Foundation Day. What may concern Beijing is that even very young secondary students are willing to leave their classes to show defiance towards Hong Kong and Chinese government leaders.
These students cut their class, just to come to assemblies like this one. Do your parents allow you to come to these assemblies?
No, they don't allow me. Important for me is show our message to our government. Hong Kong is our future.
These kids are shouting revival in Hong Kong, revolution of our times. They are serious because they know that they are the ones who are affected the most when their rights and freedom under the one country, two system agreement are being eroded by China and their leaders. But pro-democracy student leader Joshua Wong is optimistic, especially after giving testimony before the U.S. Congress, where the Hong Kong Human Rights Bill is close to gaining approval. That has angered the Chinese Communist government. Joshua Wong told CBN News,
when the Hong Kong Human Rights and Democracy Act has already passed both in the Senate and the House committee level, I think with such progress, it will just encourage Hong Kong people to be aware that how international communities stand with Hong Kong. I hope our movement can win with victory. When we face difficulties, we are still optimistic to realize that God will make a way.
Lucille Talusan, CBN News, Hong Kong.
There's a new development in the case of an American Christian mother whose American children were abducted by the Norwegian government last week. Natalia Shudakova says after she emailed the CBN News story about her case to the American Embassy in Oslo, they contacted her and have requested a meeting with her tomorrow. Norway's notorious Child Protective Services, Barnevernet, took the children from Shudakova and her Lithuanian husband, who moved to Norway last year from Atlanta, Georgia. The couple's 3 children, 11-year-old Brigida, 9-year-old Nikita, and 7-year-old Elizabeth, all American citizens, were taken by Barnevernet in May after the oldest child made up a story about abuse at home. She told the court the story was a lie, but her testimony was disregarded. The parents will now be allowed to visit their children only 3 times each year, but they have appealed the decision.
So Barnevernet knows that these children are Americans, and they took the children without any investigation, without a single warning, without having a talk with the parents first. They came and they took my children straight from their beds without presenting me a single paper which was translated in English.
Our CBN News senior international correspondent Dale Hurd broke the story. Dale, tell us about Norway's child welfare agency, the Barnevernet. How does it have the authority to even do this? I mean, this sounds ridiculous.
Good question. I'm not sure it has the authority. Barnevernet is it's a network of all their child protective services agencies throughout the country. And I know it's out of control because I've been in contact with the Norwegian government, and they told me, yeah, we know there's a problem and we're trying to fix it. I don't know if they're serious. I think the other side of this is a lot of arrogance. I'm frankly shocked at Norway's attitude toward international condemnation of this, because this isn't the first time. I mean, our viewers would remember the Bodnarius, the Romanian-Norwegian family that had their children taken away. And it's happened to Canadian families. And so it's a big problem.
Give us some background on this case. You know, a lot of viewers are not following this, obviously, as extensively as you. Give us the update.
So Ukrainian-American mother, Lithuanian father, living in Atlanta, Georgia, going to a local church there. He gets a business venture in Norway. They move there, and shortly after they move there, the oldest daughter is grounded, her phone taken away, so she makes up a story at school that she's being abused at home. And they move right in and take the kids.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Well, do the parents have a chance in the Norway legal system of getting their children back?
I would like to say yes. This decision that just happened was a Barnevernet court. And when it gets in the legal system, perhaps they have a better hope. And especially if the U.S. Embassy gets involved and Norway feels some of the heat from Washington. This could end very quickly.
Yes, okay. All right, Dale, thanks for staying on top of this. Up next, painful news for retirees. We're going to break down the fallout from the pension crisis.
Introducing the CBN Bible from CBN.com. Now, an easier way to study the Bible and grow in your faith. Highlight your favorite verse. Read separate versions at a glance. Click and read a commentary. Or cross-reference your favorite verse using the Strong's Concordance. All the right tools to study the Bible, all in one place. The CBN Bible, available at cbn.com/Bible or the iTunes App Store.
It has the power to influence weight loss, boost your immune system, and improve brain function.
We've seen an explosion of data on the role of the gut microbiome in health.
The free Build a Better Gut booklet reveals the latest information about the gut microbiome. You'll discover how your gut affects the rest of your health.
The gut microbiome has been linked to depression and cancer and heart disease.
Learn how to build a stronger, healthier gut.
The microbiome, if it's in good composition, are really protecting us all the time from more invasive things.
Get the Build a Better Gut booklet, free from the Christian Broadcasting Network. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut.
You need to make sure that your microbes are working with you, not against you.
And if you order online, you'll get immediate access to the Build a Better Gut series, a digital copy of the booklet, and related bonus material. Build a Better Gut today. Call 1-800-700-7000 or go to cbn.com/buildabettergut for your free copy.
Here, we're committed to a heritage of rigorous scholarship dating back over 1,000 years.
And to a faith tradition dating back 1,000 more.
This is how we create a culture of inquiry where no topic is off limits.
And a culture of hope.
Anything's possible!
It's Christian leadership.
And it's changing the world for the better.
It's higher learning.
It's greater knowing.
It's what makes us whole.
It's what makes us Regent.
Welcome back. Cities across America face an economic time bomb. For decades, they've been promising government workers hefty retirement packages, but in many cases, lawmakers have not put enough money in those funds. Now, with baby boomers beginning to retire in big numbers, it's time for cities to pay up. Caitlin Burke brings us the story of what that day of reckoning looks like.
Central Falls is Rhode Island's smallest city, but it's made some big headlines. In 2011, it became one of the first cities in the U.S. to file for municipal bankruptcy. After years of economic mismanagement, the city of 19,000 was broke. When something like this happens, cities face major cuts and sacrifices to get back on track. In the case of Central Falls, the state brought in retired state Supreme Court Justice Bob Flanders to help right the city's finances. And the sacrifice came from those expecting retirement payouts.
Bankruptcy is typically called a community of pain, where all the creditors share in the hardship and the pain caused by the bankrupt entity's inability to pay its bills. So here, because the state protected the bondholders, the entire restructuring had to be borne by both the retirees and the active employees.
It was in this auditorium back in 2011 that Judge Bob Flanders told a room full of pension earners that they had two options: risk losing the entire pension promised to them in retirement, or sacrifice 50% of it.
I had to deliver that very difficult and painful message to people who had retired relying on this, and so it was a horrible thing to have to do.
A pension is a promise. City employees like police and firefighters work for a set number of years at relatively low pay in exchange for higher guaranteed benefits once they retire.
In the case of police and fire in Central Falls, they were being allowed to retire after 20 years, and so the average age of these retirees was in their late 40s, 48, I believe. And so they typically still have many working years left, so they're able to obtain a pension and then go out and get another job someplace else and supplement their income for the rest of their working lives.
Decades went by in Central Falls, with each administration talking about better pensions and benefits. Meanwhile, no money was coming in to pay for those promises. Pension debt remains almost invisible. That is, until it's time for the city to pay retiring workers.
This is the poorest city in Rhode Island, and it hadn't seen any significant tax increases for years, despite ever richer pension benefits. So that ended up in a very bad situation where they couldn't pay their bills any longer.
Both active duty and retired Central Falls workers took an immediate hit.
Didn't know if you're going to get a paycheck every 2 weeks. So that first started. And on the same time, you're responding to dangerous calls. And so you're trying to separate your personal and professional opinion about what's going on, but you still have to do your job.
While those on active duty had time to work out a plan B, retired police and firefighters found themselves in a lurch.
It dramatically affected them. Two of the members I know, they had to go into foreclosure with their houses. And that's, it's 70 years old or in your 80s where you counted on this and you worked for this. And these are officers that did about 25 to 30 years on the job. It was hard to see. And we couldn't do anything for them ourselves, even from the perspective of the union, because we were all trying to fight for something.
CBN News reached out to several affected retirees. Their response? After years of fighting to get what they'd been promised, they feel worn down, defeated, and sick of talking about it. Plus, they're tired of seeing their loss used as a cautionary tale for other cities that probably won't pay any heed.
Putting your head in the sand about this like an ostrich isn't going to let the problem go away or get any less severe. It's one that continues to grow with each passing year. And so while the overwhelming temptation is to kick this can down the road as long and as hard as you can so you don't have to deal with it and you leave it for somebody else in the hope that you won't be there when everything explodes, that's obviously not a very good way of solving problems.
In Central Falls, Flanders recognized pension benefits as the biggest part of the problem. As painful as it was, he faced them, diffusing the time bomb.
In my judgment, it's a very effective remedy to deal with issues that, for whatever reason, politically have been unpalatable and unacceptable to the elected officials. Sort of bring in somebody like me from the outside that can have the power to restructure, not worrying about getting reelected or pleasing groups that helped him get elected or that funded his or her campaign. That is enormously helpful in order to get the job done.
Other cities should take note of Central Falls because their retiring workers will also expect to collect a pension. According to one report, however, more than half of the states aren't prepared to pay for the promises made to public employees. Still, someone must pay the price for this extremely broken system when the bill comes due. The question is who? Caitlin Burke, CBN News, Central Falls, Rhode Island.
Coming up, rapper Kanye West, is going gospel. We're going to break down why he is facing backlash for his new album.
Life. It's meant to be lived fully. Jesus said it. I came to give you life. Life to the fullest. Life in your family. Life in your finances. Life in your body, mind, and spirit. Life in your everyday. At CBN.com, we're taking what Jesus said seriously. We're here to help you discover life. Life. Live it fully. CBN.com. Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile. Grow, connect, have fun. The all-new MyCBN app.
Watch breaking news, in-depth exclusive stories and programs, from health to entertainment you won't find anywhere else. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Enjoy credible news reporting from around the world. Discover inspiring programs and stories of hope, all in one place from a Christian perspective. The CBN News Channel, a perspective you can trust. Check your local listings or visit cbnnewschannel.com.
Come home to the sounds of Southern Gospel from CBN Radio. You'll enjoy a rich Southern blend of bluegrass, classic gospel, and Southern gospel favorites like the Gaithers, the Crabb Family, and bluegrass sounds like Mountain Faith. So make yourself at home with the all-new CBN Southern Gospel, now available at cbnradio.com.
Rapper Kanye West says moving forward, he will only make gospel music. Chicago music promoter Andrew Barber says West made the comment Saturday at a listening party for his new album, Jesus is King. The highly anticipated project still doesn't have a release date, but some are taking to Twitter posting criticism about West's new music and his faith. Auburn Powell tweeted in part, "The way he talks about women in his other recent albums, I'm skeptical he knows the gospel." And Aaron of the Wild wrote, "Jesus is King is trending on Twitter, except no one is talking about Jesus of Nazareth, the Savior of the world and Son of the living God who created heaven and earth. They're talking about the self-proclaimed God Kanye West, who is a mere man." Joining us now to weigh in on the backlash and skepticism is our entertainment correspondent, Ephraim Graham. Those are kind of harsh comments there. Do you think people are being too harsh on Kanye West?
I think a little bit. You know, I'm reminded of the scripture when Jesus heals the blind man, and the Jews as well as the Pharisees have all these questions about who is Jesus and how did he do this? And he goes, all I know is I once was blind, but now I see. And I think that is all that Kanye West is likely doing. He's saying, you know, all I know is there's been a transformation in my life, and I can no longer do what I used to do. There's even an album that was supposed to be released before this, but it never saw the light of day. And he's now made it clear in some of the performances this weekend that the reason that one didn't see the light of day is because it didn't sit well with him anymore. He's been doing pop-up gospel worship services since January. No surprise to me that here we are about 9 months in, and he's talking about a true transformation. I mean, he's friends with gospel artist Kirk Franklin, Chance the Rapper, all these people who have been pouring into his life and witnessing to him. So I'm thinking we're seeing the fruit of all that work finally come to fruition.
And there will be naysayers anytime someone tries to make a change.
Absolutely.
Okay, well, what is behind the sudden focus on gospel music? Can you elaborate a little more on that?
You know, I think gospel music, especially with artists like Kanye West, Chance the Rapper, people on the outside who haven't experienced it are getting an opportunity to experience it and see something different. You had Brad Pitt, as a matter of fact, attend one of Kanye West's services a few weeks ago, and he says, you know, someone as himself been searching for much of his life for spirituality, felt something different there. David Letterman attending the service, hearing that gospel music, saying, yeah, there's something special here. So I think more and more people being exposed to it, recognizing it, and young artists like Kanye West and Chance the Rapper making it something that is palatable to young people.
And you know, only God knows his true intentions
Absolutely.
And his heart. So we can pray for Kanye, but we need to not judge him. The Bible's very clear about that. Judge not, yet lest ye be judged.
Amen.
All right, thanks, Ephraim. And thanks for being, actually, we're going to be right back with more of CBN Newswatch. Stay with us.
Came to Regent University, it's like the world opened up. I felt like I needed to advance my career and go back to school. Regent was a perfect fit for me. The Regent professors are world class. You are equipped. The focus of the faculty is on each individual student, whether it's online or in person. You become a part of Regent's family. You carry with you not just the content and the knowledge, but the confidence to understand that we can be significant in the world.
Regent University. Follow your path.
Many of you read Bible plans on an app, and a recent study shows men are more likely than women to finish those plans. But men don't retain as much from that digital reading as opposed to when they pick up a print Bible. That's according to a recent study in the Journal of Religion, Media, and Digital Culture reported on by Christianity Today. On the other hand, women retain about the same amount of information when reading digitally or with print, and they finish a similar amount of reading in either medium. Well, that's going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. Hope you'll join us next time. Really appreciate your time. Have a great day.